Christina, welcome to Soundwave TV. We're here with the mighty Robb Flynn of Machine Head. How are you going, Rob?
Good. How are you?
Very well. Are you having fun sort of connecting with your other buddy bands sort of thing?
Yeah, it's like total high school reunion here. Just like every band I've toured with for like the last 10 years. I'm like, whoa. It was awesome.
Yeah, cool.
I think because like we've toured with them, you know, there's like certain bands we've toured with a lot of times, and so we know them better than we know some of the other bands. But you know, the Trivium dudes are always awesome because we've done like 5 tours with them. You know, the band who I'm really looking forward to seeing is Times of Grace, because I've never seen them, and they're doing some side shows with us, which I'm stoked about. Some side waves, and I love their last record. So good. And I mean, we toured with Slipknot a bunch of times. You know, we actually took Slipknot on their second tour, and they just went into the stratosphere.
Because it's special those
they
kind of
returned the favor a little later, which was awesome.
Yeah, and it was funny. Adam was saying that when Machine Head first started, they were like, the big goal was to open the Slayer show in San Francisco.
Oh yeah,
and
in Oakland,
yeah. And you know, it's funny where things go from there.
Yeah, for sure.
Looking back on that, how does that?
We had three goals when we first started. So our first goal was to sell 20,000 records, which to us was like fucking huge. We just sold 20,000 records. The other one was to, and then the other one was to open for Slayer. The one show at the Henry J. Kaiser in Oakland, which is a center, you know, about 5,000 seater. And we were like, if we do those two things, like we're fucking kings. And you know, we ended up doing 5 months with Slayer, sold 500,000 copies of that first album worldwide, and it was pretty awesome. And you know, I tell you what, when the first couple of tours that we did, I mean, we always were, you know, we've always prided ourselves on being a ferocious live band, and even just in the Bay Area, we rarely played with metal bands. I mean, there wasn't a lot of metal bands to play, and so we would play with death metal packages or grindcore packages or bands like Rancid, you know, like totally random punk rock, you know, and there's us trying to win over, and we would, you know, it really like helped us cut our teeth on being a live band. But we did a month with Napalm Death and Obituary, and then went right into Slayer for 5 months. And I tell you what, like opening for Slayer at that time was a life or death situation. Like you sink or swam. Like there was no in between. We'd walk out to 300 people flipping us off. Slayer. We were like, fuck, man. Like
baptism by fire.
And you know, you worked, and we won them over, and that was killer. By the end of the show, like 3-4 songs in, you'd feel like a switch happened. You're like, whew, all right.
Do you reckon like Matt Pike from High on Fire was talking about like Oakland, it's a lot of like biker culture? Is that do you kind of see that around you when you were sort of coming up, or? Yeah,
I mean, for sure. There was a lot of, I mean, that was, you know, for us, that was a big part of it, is that we were surrounded by so much black culture living in Oakland, and we were hanging out with mostly punk rockers and mostly at punk rock clubs. I used to see High on Fire's old band Sleep play at this punk rock club called Your Place Too, which is about as big as this area right here. And it was, you know, that was just like a cult. Like we weren't really part of that scene, but we were in that scene, you know, and just and enjoying it. I love their band, and you know, just like having that different slant. You know, we were proud to be a metal band, and we played metal, but you know, we had these other influences, and all of it kind of, you know, you'd get a little bit of that punk rock and the hardcore, and then you'd get some of the hip hop, and like, you know, especially at that time, hip hop wasn't about chains and bling and whatever. It was like really political and really angry, and like, you know,
about equality,
riots and fucking, you know, fuck the police, and like, so that whole like political, fuck the government, fuck this, fuck you, fuck whites, fuck blacks, fuck, you know, it was just like that whole attitude really became part of what we were. You know?
Yeah, I mean, Unto the Locust, you took it even further, and it's just this beautiful, epic kind of thing. And you guys, I don't know, you've always had a sound, but now it feels like it's kind of come into this Technicolor resolution, I guess.
Awesome. Thank you.
Like,
that's a rad description.
Yeah, well, it's true. It's just, like bigger and bigger and brighter. And what's your sort of history with classical music?
In my high school, there was an elective I could take to get to play classical guitar, and I basically just smoked a lot of weed and played Black Sabbath songs with my friends. But you know, I retained some of it, and I actually, you know, I had to play a classical piece to
like
as my
class,
final.
yeah.
So I played green sleeves, and so I kind of got the basics of it, and I actually got a C- on my thing. Yeah. Take that, teacher. But I did. I kind of retained some of it, and I just worked on those things, and then I got away from it for a while, and then just with this record I kind of got back for no reason in particular. I started writing some class. The first few things that I wrote was like the intro to This Is the End and little classical bits, and I got back into it, and I really wanted to get back into it, so I started taking lessons, and I just wanted to basically get into a headspace where I was just a fucking retard again, like where I just like, fuck, this is what I don't get, this work, separate, and
That's good. It's so good for your creativity when you actually stretch your mind, because I'm a big believer in neuroplasticity, and your brain can completely remold itself if you actually challenge it. So and
it kind of felt like that. Like I need to get into a different. I've been playing this. I know I can do it with my eyes closed. Like I want to be in this other headspace, trying to conquer this thing that I can't.
It's interesting. You guys are playing Download with Black Sabbath. Is that right?
Yep. Not on the same day, but
not on the same day.
Festival, yeah.
What does that sort of mean to you? I guess to have them back in.
Well, hopefully they are able to be.
Obviously.
Like with all the Tony and Iommi,
sad.
Everything with the lymphoma and stuff. So I mean, our hearts go out to them. We've toured. We've had the amazing opportunity to tour with Sabbath twice now. We toured with them with Ozzy, and we toured with them in Heaven and Hell.
Okay.
So the Heaven and Hell thing was probably the one tour where I interacted with them more, just because it was on Ozfest, and they'd just kind of show up and then go. And with that one, they were there, and he'd come out of his dressing room, and I'd come out of my dressing room at the same time. I'd look to the left, and he'd be like, "Oh, hey, Rob," and I'd be like, "Oh, hey, Tony Iommi, how's it going?" And just like,
and Dio, man, what a pocket rocket.
He was amazing. Yeah. He was amazing. He was great. Like when you talk to Tony Iommi, there's definitely he's Tony Iommi. With Dio, not that he wasn't Dio, but he would come in, and maybe because he was just American and he's a big sports fan, he really hit it off with Dave, my drummer, and he'd come in and just bust his balls so hard. Your Spurs are sucking, and we were just like, Dio, just dissed your fucking team.
Go home and cry.
Yeah.
Do you write all the time?
I got to get away from it for a while. I really, I haven't listened to Under the Locust in fucking months, I just I don't want to hear it. We're playing it. I had to hear it with producing it and mixing it and just, touring it and doing all the press and stuff. So, I get away from it, and then, I wait till I kind of let, for me, I need the music to kind of lead the way.
To you? Yeah.
Some very, very, every once in a while, I'll write lyrics and I'll write music around it, but it's always, for me, most of the time, it's, the vibe that the music's given, I'll kind of let it see where that takes me.